The Legend of Zelda is one of my all-time favorite game series ever, and Breath of the Wild is one of the best games in this series has ever seen. Well, not my favorite. One of my favorite things Breath of the Wild brought to the table was the new armors and clothes that it has. Some pretty lame, but super amazing. And this list will include DLC, as I have all the armors and the DLC had. But before we start, I wanted to mention that the circlets and brass roots won't be on the list, as they're all the same thing and don't do anything. And they take up all my armor storage, so I didn't get them all. And lastly, amiibo outfits won't be on the list, as I only have like 3 amiibos and they don't support Breath of the Wild. Anyways, with that said, let's rank these armors from worst to best. First up, we have the first armor that you'll get, the old worn out clothes, and it truly shows as it's the worst armor in the game, as it has no stat bonuses, only has 2 defense total. And it isn't even Link's size of clothes, so I bet it slows him down because of how tight it is. It's obviously useful at the beginning as it makes the game easier as you go from 0 defense to 2, but it still makes the worst armor in the game. Next, we have our first DLC item, in the Nintendo Switch shirt, and it sucks. It only grants 1 defense, so you could wear it with the old worn out pants defense, as you would be wearing the old shirt, as you get this in the very beginning of the game if you have DLC, but it's higher as it actually looks pretty cool. When first playing, it was worth getting as it did not make you look like a fractured testicle like the old clothes did, which is why it's above it. The warm display is up, and I was never so disappointed in a piece of clothes in a game before. This dumb piece of clothes requires you to find a super secret recipe and cook it for an old man. And once you do, he will give you this piece of clothes. However, it has a bonus. It warms you up in the cold so you don't die, making the game easier. So why was I so nut busted from this? Well, you see, it would be much higher if it worked. What do I mean? Well, you need another piece of clothing with cold resistance for the bonus to activate, which is not possible until you get an entirely new set of armor. But because it's already a full set when you get it, you will never use this armor in your life when playing. It's just kinda there, so it's a waste. Now we have another DLC shirt, but this time it's a reference to The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker. It's the Island Lobster shirt, and that's my all-time favorite Zelda game, so you bet your Billy when I got this I was excited. And it's actually quite useful, not a lot but still a little. What this shirt does is it's heat resistant, so when you're in the desert you won't die of heat, which is very nice as you will get this armor before going there, making it easier to traverse the desert without dying, so this shirt has a use. The Korok mask is up, and it's kinda lame as its defense is again really bad, and you get this towards the end of the game. However, if you are a completionist like me, then you use this mask a lot. As you may know, this game has 900 Korok seeds to find, and it's very hard. However, this mask reveals where the Koroks are hiding, which makes it very useful, but it's kinda trash, so let's move on. We finally get out of the 1 defense stuff and get Ravio's hood. You're probably wondering who Ravio is. Well, he's a character from The Legend of Zelda, A Link Between Worlds. It's a 3DS Zelda game, so you may have known that, but some people don't. This mask has no bonuses, but you can get it early on in the game, and will give 2 defense on its own. So if you have the DLC at the beginning of the game, it's actually pretty useful. Now we're getting into our first Zelda Twilight Princess stuff, and here we have Zaun's helmet. Overall it's not too great, as its bonus just keeps you from getting frozen, but I don't remember I have ever been frozen up in all my 150 hours I put into this game, so it's not the most useful. However, it grants you 7 defense, so it's not all that bad. In this game, there are 4 total masks to obtain, each being used to blend in with other monsters' camps so they won't attack you, but sadly you can't use a Bokoblin mask, for example, to trick other enemies. So the Bokoblin mask, Moblin mask, and Lizalfos masks aren't too useful unless you just don't want to fight them, but why it's so high up is because 1, they look cool, and 2, the Lynel mask. The Lynel mask actually helps a lot, as Lynels are super strong and can kill you pretty easily. So with this mask you can stun them, deal lots of damage when first fighting them to get the upper hand, which you will want when fighting them because they're not easy to kill. But sadly, they're not easy to get as you need tons of monster parts to sell for monster currency to get. So there's a grind to obtain them, but overall they're nice to have. Majora's Mask is the exact same thing as the enemy's mask, except it can be used to trick all enemies at once, not one at a time, and it comes from the second best Zelda game ever. Man, I should do a top 10 Zelda games list one day. The Gerudo Vo armor is up, and its defense sucks, but lets you explore the desert without dying from heat, and honestly that's its only purpose. At least it looks kinda cool, but my question is, the only way to get this armor is by getting into Gerudo Town, which requires the Gerudo Bikini stuff, which already gives you the bonuses that the Vo armor does, but even more, which I'll talk about later. So when you can get this armor, it will deem you useless. But hey, I like looking like a dude in the desert, because I am one, so I prefer this armor when exploring the desert. The Gerudo clothes does exactly what the Gerudo Vo armor does. However, this clothing gives you access into the Gerudo village. Now, at first, you would expect it to be higher for that reason. However, you don't even need to complete this area of the game to beat it, so that's why it's so low. Next is the Salvager armor, and this armor is absolutely cum-sucking stupid looking, and it's a reference to Xenoblade Chronicles, which you may not have heard of, because that's a JRPG game, and I hate anime and anime games, and it's a bonus, a way cooler armor and better armor has, so that's why this bull crap is so low. It's too high honestly, but it has good defense, so that's why it's higher than you would think. The Tingle's clothes are up, and this is kind of a creepy armor set. As you may know, Tingle is the most weird, strange character in the Zelda series, and he's even in jail in some of the games. He's also some weird pervert, and this armor, while having decent defense, is pretty good looking, but it's also really weird. Right off the bat, you may notice that these clothes bulge Link's cock out, which is a weird bonus, I guess. And this armor's bonus is running faster at night, which is nice, but this makes me think Tingle has a thing for being a pedophile. I mean, his cock throbs out, and at nighttime he runs faster as if he's ready to go catch some kids, but overall, I like this clothes. The Radiant suit is next, and honestly, I don't care too much for this armor set, but it has good defense, and at nighttime you glow like a skeleton, which is pretty cool, but that's literally it. I wish I could put the Thunder Helm higher, but honestly, by the time you can even get this helmet, it's pretty much useless. So what does it do? It stops lightning strikes from killing you if you get struck, which at first sounds awesome, as it means this armor would be super useful when fighting the Thunderblight Ganon, but no, because you can't get the helmet until after beating him. But it's pretty nice if you're going for all 120 shrines, but this armor is super annoying to get as you have to complete every side quest in Gerudo Town, which takes like 5 to 10 hours, but it's still pretty cool. The next Twilight Princess thing is up, and it's Midna's helmet. Now, why is this so high? Well, first it has pretty good defense at 9 total, but it makes fighting Guardians easier by making them weaker, so towards the ending of the game it could be pretty helpful. But it isn't too amazing, and looks have a huge impact on placing things on my list, but honestly, I don't really care about Twilight Princess. The Royal Guard uniform is honestly pretty lame, but it's good reference to what Link was earlier in the game and has good defense, but that's it. I know that was a very, very quick explanation, but honestly, I honestly don't know what else to say about this armor. The climbing gear could be put in many spots, but for me the climbing gear was just something I needed for a 100% completion, but I never used it. It's obtained from shrines, but it takes forever to get, and likely you'll have way better armor by then with lots of energy. So it's not great, as it just makes you climb faster, but that is kind of a good bonus, so that's why it's a tad higher than some of the other armors. The Hylian armor is up, and overall, unless you upgrade it a lot like I did, it's pretty basic. It has decent defense at first, but it gets better by upgrading it. It doesn't have bonuses though. But you get this at the beginning of the game and can upgrade it, so it is actually pretty useful. The Dark Armor is up, and is basically the exact same thing as the Tingle Clothes, as its bonus is running faster at night. However, this armor for one looks cooler, and has better defense. But the only issue with this armor is it's extremely tedious to get, as you have to grind and bust your balls for hours, getting monster parts to sell for monster money. It's super annoying, but it is definitely worth it in the end. Some people may expect the Flamebreaker armor to be much higher, but like the Gerudo clothes, you can completely skip the section of the game where this armor would help you. But some people cleared the Goron part of this game without it anyways. What this armor does is it prevents you from getting lit on fire when in the volcano. But while it's helpful, you don't even need it. And as I said, looks matter a lot, and this armor is just goofy looking. This armor, despite having booty cheeks defense and near impossible to upgrade because of how insane it is to do, I absolutely love this armor, because to all you 5-year-olds, this is the clothing that Link would wear in the older games, and I love it. And of course, it's the armor of the wild. And the grind to get this is absolutely insane, as you need to clear all 112 or 116 shrines to get it. Can't remember the exact number, as I did 120 because of the DLC, but I love this inclusion, which is why it's higher than some would expect it to be. The rubber suit may be too high, but honestly, despite of how dumb it looks like a fractured testicle, I think it's great and it's helpful towards getting all 120 shrines, as it prevents lightning from hurting you as much, and it helps a lot if you upgrade it, but that's it. The stealth armor may be too high, but it's a Zelda Ocarina of Time reference, which I love, and if you upgrade it a lot, it actually becomes really insane. And it's stealth armor, so sneaking around is super easy, completing some parts of the game, because it becomes easier, because you can sneak around, obviously. I love this armor, so that's why it's so high up. This armor isn't needed to beat the game, the Zora armor, but it just looks so cool, and if you upgrade it, it becomes pretty good armor set to wear casually, and it makes you swim fast, and you can even swim up waterfalls using it, which is so much fun. This armor is just amazing. The Snow Quill armor is super useful as it prevents you from dying in the cold, which you have to go in a lot for a 100% completion. Without this armor, it would be pretty much impossible. It isn't the coolest looking, but it's super helpful, and when you upgrade it, its defense is actually pretty good. The Phantom Ganon armor has awful defense, but the armor is so awesome looking. It's obviously Phantom Ganon from Ocarina of Time, and I love that game, so obviously this is an amazing reference, and it's just awesome in general. But this armor's bonus is pretty cool as it's stealth, but here you can walk in front of enemies for a little while and they won't even see you. This armor is so high because I just love it so much. Overall, the Soldier's armor is nothing too crazy as you're just a knight, but if you upgrade this armor a lot, it becomes the best armor in the whole game. I didn't upgrade it completely, but I still have 68 defense, which is insane. It looks pretty cool too. If you have this armor set, you're basically going to be set for the rest of the whole game. The Barbarian's armor is so awesome looking, and the hair on it makes me think that this is like a dead Ganondorf, I guess. It just looks sick, and while not the best defense in the game, it's still a lot, and this armor is good enough to beat the rest of the game with. Getting it isn't too easy though, as you need to beat the 3 hardest shrines, in my opinion, in the game, but it's so worth it, and as cool as it looks, it has also great defense, and its bonus is making your attacks much stronger than usual. This armor is just perfect. Right away, you can tell the ancient armor is super cool looking, as you're basically a guardian and shrine all in one. It doesn't just look cool, it has one of the best bonuses as it makes guardians much weaker when fighting you, which is extremely helpful at the end of the game. The defense is pretty great too, but getting the sick looking armor is very hard, as you have to kill hundreds of guardians to get their parts to make this armor, and the rarest item in the game, the guardian's core, but the grind is so worth it. We finally made it to number 1, and I said this before and I'll say it again. The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker is my all-time favorite Zelda game, and this DLC armor is the Phantom Armor, which is the hardest but most awesome enemy in The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker. It's so sick, and the defense is actually really good here. And it has the same stats and bonuses as the Barbarian armor, so I don't need to explain, but it's just so balls massaging epic, it had to be number 1. Thank you all so much for watching, and let me know your favorites down below, as I'm sure my opinions could be changed around, as I mostly went for looks here, and this video took a very long time to make. And also I wanted to say sorry because it took me a very long time to get this video out, because I was editing a ton back when I made my first 2 videos, and I just kind of took a break before getting this one, and yeah, when I started getting back into it, I'd work on editing all night long and stuff. So please, if you could, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe while you're still here. But with that, I'll end it here, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.